Hey dudes, I'm Hilah, and today on Hilah Cooking, we're making some buttery ass dinner rolls. We're gonna make some Parker House rolls. These are so good and so nice, and such just a wonderful treat to know how to make your own homemade dinner rolls for your Thanksgiving or holiday kind of meals. So let's show you how to do it. I've got a 1/4 ounce package of just active dry yeast in here. I'm gonna add some warm water. It needs to be warm to like wake up the yeast, but you don't want it to be so hot that it will kill the yeast. So about 110 degrees is good. Yeah, that should be fine. So it's warm, like a nice, Jesus Christ. Okay. It's like a nice bath for the yeast. So just combine that with a whisk. Okay, then we're just gonna let this sit for like 5 minutes to let that yeast get lubricated and warmed up because it's been in the fridge. And meanwhile, I'm gonna heat up some milk to about the same temperature in the microwave. Okay, so this has been sitting here for a while. It hasn't foamed up because we haven't added any sugar yet, so just check the date on your yeast and make sure that it is fresh, is what I can tell you. So I've got my warm milk here and 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm just gonna get that butter a little broken up, and the butter was at room temperature too. And we're gonna add this in, and we're gonna add salt and sugar. All right, so the butter's not totally melted, but that's fine. So we're gonna add a room temperature egg and get that mixed up. And you could totally do this in a mixer like this. I'm not doing it like that on purpose because I don't think I've ever showed y'all how to knead bread, so I'm gonna do it by hand. But if you have one of these with a little dough hook, that's what this thing is for if you've seen it and didn't know. You can use this to mix it and knead it and all that stuff. So, but let's do it like our great grannies did it. Okay, so once everything's mixed up, you wanna switch utensils. This is important. Use a wooden spoon because the whisk is just gonna get all gummy. And then we're gonna start adding in some flour. This is just regular all-purpose flour. You don't need bread flour or anything like that. Okay, this is good. So see, once it starts to come together in a ball like this, we can start kneading it. I've taken off my rings. So I'm gonna put down a little bit of flour. You wanna make sure that you have plenty of extra flour around whenever you're doing any kind of bread that requires kneading. All right. We can plop this out here. And kneading is just sort of working the dough, like folding it over on top of itself. And what you're doing is helping the gluten form. So gluten is the protein that's in wheat that some people are allergic to, but it's also the protein that when it gets wet, it forms these long like chains, and that's what makes bread kind of nice and chewy. And that's the difference between bread flour and regular all-purpose flour. Is the bread flour has a higher gluten content, so it makes like a really nice chewy like sourdough loaf or something. But for a dinner roll, you don't really want it to be like so chewy. You want it to be kind of fluffy also, so that's why we're using all-purpose flour. Okay, take a breath. And then you just do this. See, I'm just using like the ball of my hand here, like the ball of my palm or whatever you call that part of my body, my wrist, and pressing it down and kind of away from me, and then fold it back over. And if you were using a dough hook like on the stand mixer, you would just let the machine run on low for about 5 minutes. But this is the same thing happening. And if it starts to get a little bit sticky like this, eventually it'll kind of the flour will like work its way into the dough and it'll start to get a little sticky. So just have a little bit of extra flour on the side and keep going. So yeah, this is not, you don't have to worry about overworking it like you do with biscuits or pie crust, because in this case we want that gluten to form. With a biscuit and a pie crust, you want to avoid the gluten forming because you want a light and flaky thing. But here, we're trying to encourage a little bit of that. All right, so this is what it'll look like after about 5 minutes. It'll start to feel really elastic. It kind of doesn't want to take any more flour. I think you'll know what I mean when you try it. Keep kneading it for a little bit longer until it kind of all comes together into a really smooth looking something like that. And you can form it into a little ball. It's pretty fun to play with. And then I've got just a bowl here that I've rubbed with our butter wrapper to get it kind of oiled. Just plop it in there, flip it over. I want to get it kind of oiled up so that it doesn't dry out. And then we're just going to cover it with a cloth or something like that. I'm going to let this, that's not clean. Okay. Gross. Okay. Then we're just going to cover this and let it set at room temperature for about an hour and a half until it has doubled in size, or you can put it in the fridge overnight if you want to make it ahead of time. So I'll see you back in when it's risen. When he has risen. Oh, that's Easter. Never mind. All right, this is what our dough looks like now. See how big and puffy it is? It's a big puffy dough ball. And I've got my floured surface here. I've got some more melted butter. I'm just gonna brush the inside of my baking pan here really well with lots of butter. Lots of butter. And then we wanna divide this dough. We wanna punch it down, which is fun. You just go like this. Put up your Duke's dough ball. Like that, and then you just knock it out. So I want to divide this into 4 pieces. I'm just going to cut it into quarters. All right, now we're going to roll this out into a rectangle. Okay, I think that's as good as I'm going to be able to get it. So we want it about 12 inches, which is about the length of my radius and tibia? I don't know. Been a long time since I took the A&P, guys. And so about 12 by 6. Okay, and then I'm just gonna use a little pizza cutter to cut it into 9 smaller rectangles. So we wanna go about a third lengthwise, so you get like 2-inch wide strips there. And then let's go halfsies, and then halfsies again. And then get some more of your melted butter, and we're just gonna brush like the top half of each little strip with some butter. Okay. And now for the origami. Just gonna fold it over like that. And you leave a tiny little lip like this exposed. And then we're gonna start arranging them in our buttered pan over here. So you can should be able to fit like 4 across, and just go ahead and cram them in there. And then overlap this part, like go ahead and overlap the next row onto that of the previous row. Does that make sense? I don't know. Just look at what my hands are doing and not what my mouth is saying. So now we're just gonna do that with the remaining of our portions of dough until it's all in here. Once your rolls are all in the pan, you just wanna brush them with the rest of the butter. Get every little bit. We're gonna just let them sit here for about 30 minutes before we bake them in the oven. If you wanted to, again, you could just cover them with some plastic, put them in the fridge for 6 hours overnight and bake them off in the morning. But I wanna eat them now, so sue me. So 25 minutes later, look at those beautiful brown rolls. You can feel the heat radiating. So we're gonna brush it with a little bit more butter, because what the hell, right? Just kind of splatter that around, get them nice and shiny. And then, to make them ultra delicious and irresistible, I've got some flaky sea salt here, and I'm just gonna sprinkle buttery buns with a little bit of extra salt. Yay, heart disease. Okay, beautiful, beautiful Parker House rolls, yay! If you like this recipe, also check out my homemade buttermilk biscuits recipe, because that's also really good maybe for like, the morning or something like that. And you could like make little mini turkey sandwiches. Oh yeah, so this one's kind of deformed, but you could open it up and make a little sandwich. Remember to subscribe also so that you get notified for new videos. Okay, anyway, visit me at HilahCooking.com for printable recipes and answers to all of your cooking questions. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Did you want some? There's a good girl.